Hello and welcome everyone to episode 11 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
How's it going, everybody? Ready to talk about some One Piece today.
Oh boy, we have hit the good stuff. I mean, we were already at good stuff with this arc already, but my God, these chapters.
Yeah, it's just excellent, and I'm just like we are just it really feels like we're in the thick of things now, and I'm like just every single episode of recording the show, I'm like, okay, all right, we've got some good stuff to talk about.
Oh yeah, and this feels like the first moment where I got that One Piece hit, I guess I should say.
Yeah, it's
where
goosebumps,
it's like you see it going, what's on the page, what's going down, and the emotions behind it, and you're like, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, you just you feel it. You feel it in your bones.
Yeah, you really do. And man, let's just get to it because chapter 51, it does not let up. It's just right there. But yeah, chapter 51, Zoro Overboard. And of course, before we can actually get to it, we got Buggy saved from the giant crab by a mystery woman. Don't know anything about her. She has hearts on her sails. She has a big old pirate coat. And I mean, well, not even a pirate coat. We don't even know what this woman is really.
Fancy coat and a gun. She shot the crab. I know who this woman is. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I know who this woman is, but I'm going to play dumb.
Yeah.
So one of the things I do is that rather than risk me letting something slip out, I just act dumb, so my tongue doesn't get tied.
You know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering how much I should be teasing about things.
I'd rather just play dumb. So if I play dumb, I mean, if there's something that happened in a set of chapters that I act like I don't know, I know. I'm just trying to protect myself from accidentally spoiling things.
I'm trying to find that balance between pointing out something that's like, hey, this will be important for later, or like, should they know that this is important for later? Like, where should I fall on that line of commenting on something that I see and I'm like, hey,
yeah, it's one of those things for the people who are rereading this and know the story. It's like, oh, look at this, that's the indicated. But to other people being like,
oh yeah.
What the heck? Because some of the fun later on is that this thing that seems completely unimportant becomes important later.
Yeah.
So
there is something that comes up in this batch's SBS that it's not plot important, but it is a cool nod that happens like 900 chapters from now. So
wow, I do not know at all.
I'll point that out until we see it.
That's something I genuinely do not know.
It is super not plot relevant, but one of those like, I see what you did there.
Nice. But yeah, nothing too much to say about this one other than we got this mystery woman and Buggy is saved.
Buggy's
yet
saved.
Again.
A lot of the cover stories in this batch just made me laugh.
Oh yeah,
they're just genuinely funny and silly.
Absolutely, and it even feels like he's getting his pacing right for these sort of front page stories at this point. I love it. Beyond that, we got the doom as we got the face off between Zoro and Mihawk. And. Yeah, I mean, Zoro's right. We meet at last sooner than I thought, actually. It's like...
yeah, way sooner.
Yeah, it's like this feels like end boss territory. They're saying he's the greatest, and after what we just saw him do...
He's the greatest swordsman of all time. He's like, all right, the super boss is here, and here we have poor little Zoro, just like...
Yeah, it's like, all right, I'm ready to challenge. I think I'm good enough to take it on. But I still friggin' Krieg being so petulant, saying, "Look what that dandy did to my ship." It's like, shut up, dude.
He takes this surprisingly, and as we'll see a little bit later, I think in this chapter or the next, like for meeting up with the guy who like almost killed him and ruined his life and completely destroyed like 50 ships. The way that he approaches Mihawk is just like, all right, dude, you clearly don't have your own best interests in mind.
He is in complete denial, no doubt. It's odd. It's an odd thing, but just to show how much of a super boss he is, Mihawk takes the cross from around his neck and reveals that it's actually a small knife. And he all he says is, "I'm not the kind of fool who hunts rabbits with a cannon," which is a really great line.
It's so good. Because he knows that he is just head and shoulders above everybody else here. And he goes on to say here about how like the East Blue is like the tamest of all of the seas in the world. So he's just like, this is like, I'm here at Weenie Hut Juniors. I'm about to school all of you.
Is this the first time we've had it labeled between East, South, North, and West Blue?
I think this might be the first time we've at least had like the diagram. I think some people don't really understand the geography of the One Piece world, but so I guess this is a good time as I need to explain it, where you have like the red line, which is just like a giant continent cutting through the globe vertically, and then the Grand Line is like perpendicular.
Yeah, imagine the grand what is it, oh god, I'm forgetting basic geography. The vertical line that's basically the equator on Earth, that being a giant landmass that just circles the entire globe, while the Grand Line is the equator going around the entire planet.
Yeah, pretty much.
So just an easy way to break it down.
For some reason, it took me a long time to wrap my head around this, because when you think about it, like the One Piece world is so big and we see so much of it, but it takes place in like this tiny little chunk.
Yeah, you could have a complete spin-off manga of somebody just wanting to cross the entire red line, just walk the entire red line.
You could. That is a whole chunk of the story we just have don't see for the most part. It's just like, what's on the red line? Oh.
There's so much land there. Like, what is happening there? So much is focused on the seas and the islands in there. But it is interesting that East Blue is considered the tamest. And there's something somebody corrected me on, because I'm just so used to later on, as we've mentioned. But there's a reason everybody's freaked out about Luffy in this, because East Blue is considering the tamest. And so, of course, they don't see people with devil fruit powers.
Yeah, of course.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, that this is sort of like probably the most relatively normal part of the One Piece world.
Yeah,
maybe at least as far as the ocean and all islands are concerned, at least.
Yeah, it feels like it. And then we just got twisted the knife a little bit more. This is the smallest knife I got.
I love that expression on Mihawk, where he's just like, eh.
Yeah, it's just like, it is what it is. And then he shows what he's made of, just blocking all 3 swords from Zoro's onigiri. And
he it really feels like that level 1 character up against the level 100 super boss.
It really does. Especially when they show the close-up of his hand holding it.
Yeah.
And it looks like he only has his 3 fingers on it.
Yeah.
That is it. Wow.
Man. and this is established. Like this is the onigiri, which is like basically Zoro's like special attack.
Yeah.
That is. And we've seen it down pretty much everything that comes across it. And here we just have Mihawk like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's nothing.
And dagger.
He goes wild and he just gets flicked away, and it just seems like nothing. And he's like, even Mihawk's critiquing him as it's going on. It's like, man, you're so heavy-handed. It's just not even worth my time.
Yeah, it's not even worth it. The context of this fight is obviously completely different. This sort of matchup reminds me of in Dragon Ball when Trunks first shows up. And you have him asking to fight Goku, and then like Goku just puts up his finger and blocks all of Trunks' sword attacks. Like it feels that's what this fight feels like.
Which has always been a great source of like demonstration of power, of just how strong Goku is in relation to Frieza at that moment, because Trunks just took care of all that with no issue, and Goku's apparently even stronger. So it's like, my God,
Frieza in half and block that same sword with his index finger.
Mm-hmm. But of course, we got that classic shonen bit where, as he's fighting and like, I gotta win, I've gotta defeat this man, flashbacks to Kuina, flashbacks to the promise, flashbacks to him becoming the pirate hunter, flashbacks to him meeting Johnny and Yusaku, wanting to partner up. And I like that this, as he's thinking about this, Mihawk is just like, what drives you? Why do you fight so hard when you can't win?
You sort of see, and I guess that's sort of the whole point of this fight, right? Like, I mean, at this point, he's still questioning, he just sees Zoro as like a nobody, but like Zoro eventually is like slowly breaking him down. Not in terms of like fight, but just like
spirit.
Yeah, in terms of spirit. And like he's sort of slowly getting his approval almost.
Kind of. It's almost like an audition.
Yeah, an audition's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and the great thing about this is we've seen this time and time again of Luffy watching other fights and just sort of remaining stoic.
Yeah.
Not so much here. He does stop Johnny Yosaku from jumping in when...
You can tell that he wants to do something. Like, Luffy's over here sweating.
Veins are popping out. He is set to go.
Nervous.
It is unbelievable. This is a very different observant Luffy.
Yeah.
Where he's just so holding himself back, almost more than Johnny and Yosaku.
I definitely think there's this panel here on the next page where Zoro is specifically thinking about what Luffy said when they met, where he's like, the world's greatest swordsman, the king of the pirates needs him. He has to join my crew. And I guess it's just, we're able to establish that being the greatest swordsman it means everything to Zoro in this moment.
Yeah.
And being the greatest swordsman means everything to his friendship with Luffy.
It's never said, but Luffy's belief in him becoming the greatest swordsman, I think also fuels him.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right.
It's that sort of, when you have somebody that believes in your dream, you kind of appreciate it. And I think that's the thing, is that Luffy believes in his dream, and we can take by extension, Zoro believes in Luffy's dream. And everywhere they go, people doubt them, but they prove themselves. And this is his chance to truly prove himself against Mihawk. Does not work out so well, because even the Tiger Hunt, the other move we've seen him use and to great effect, just gets stabbed right in the chest. Not the heart, seems like below the heart, like mid ribs.
Yeah. Just, oof.
Oh man, that face of Luffy's just, again, grinding his teeth, holding himself back.
Yeah.
Just not done.
It's hard to watch your first mate just get completely roughed up like this.
Yeah. And then we get to the really great moment here where Mihawk's like, you're not backing up. You want your guts cut out? Why aren't you not retweeting, but retreating? And then we get to see Zoro's conviction, where if I go back even one step, my vow, my ambition, everything I care about will be shattered and all my dreams will be lost forever. So I can't retreat. And he's like, I prefer death to defeat.
With this scene, I remembered that conversation we had a while back with the SBS, where Oda was basically like, this is why I don't kill off that many characters in the story, is because defeat is it is the complete rejection of their ideals, and living with that is worse than death. And you're seeing this with Zoro into this moment.
You're exactly right on that. And because of that strength in ideals, that's what impresses Mihawk. So he's like, he gets his name and he's like, wow, okay, it's been a while since I've met somebody actually this brave. And so I'll send you to death with my actual sword, which, God, that thing's awesome.
It's awesome. And it's just such a cool, this is the approval. Instead of playing around with you with a little knife.
Yeah. It's like the fact that I'm going to take you down with this. That is a big thing. Yeah. Again, Luffy straining to hold himself back. And we get a new move from Zoro. 3,000 Worlds.
I love this one.
Oh, it looks so cool.
And then as you can see it, his swords, two of his swords just broke.
Yeah. Kuina's sword stands firm, but his other two swords shatter like nothing. And you just see them just going all around. He sheathes Kuina's sword and then just turns around with his arms wide spread. And I'll be honest, I'm getting teary-eyed looking at this once again. Wounds on the back are a swordsman's shame, and just that magnificent.
So good.
It's like,
and he's just,
it's so good.
Yeah, Mihawk's like, all right, bet. just cuts him right through. Obviously Luffy, yelling out Zoro is like that thing he's sort of breaking.
Oh yeah, his restraint.
You can't bear to watch this much for much longer. But we haven't gotten into the aftermath of this yet, but just even, oh man, this chapter is so good.
Oh yeah.
This fight is excellent. It is one of the most defining moments of Zoro's character.
It sells him so much because we've seen him fight from the brink, being injured time and time again to just even the odds, and that sort of put the idea that he's that strong. And now that he has no wounds, he's all set, there's nothing to worry about, and it's not enough. Him at 100% is not enough to even damage Mihawk. Yeah. But the strength of spirit has always been there, and that's definitely enough to take care of it. And man, what a way to end the chapter.
Oh man. Oof.
Oof. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Shall we move on to the next one, which is just even more pain?
Yeah, and you can tell it's a big moment. One, this is theoretically, the year mark. Probably a little here and there, but 52 chapters is a year now of One Piece. And what a panel to start it on. Chapter 52, The Oath, where it's just Zoro. It was obviously colored at the time, but blood spurting out. And all you see from that is
that angle with the black blade. Oh, it's just so.
It looks like it's part of his coat, and it looks awesome.
It does, yeah. Oh, it's so sick.
But that line, "Don't be in a hurry to die," and then you get all the primary players. I loved all the characters showing up in this arc. You got Johnny and Yusaku doing their own weird thing. Patty just hanging out in the O. It's fun. It's a good time.
Oh, but what's not a good time is...
No. Zoro gets those wounds. Luffy is just lost it. Johnny and Yusaku have lost it. Sanji can't understand it. And even the Krieg's crew is like, yep, that's the Grand Line, all right. Even Zoro can't handle it. And then we get something interesting here where Sanji seems to be really affected by this. He's like, you should have abandoned your stupid dream.
I think he's saying this, for a reason.
Yeah, that definitely seems like a reason. It might even tie into why he wants to stick with the ship, with the Barati, despite Zeph clearly trying to get him off the ship and taunting him and whatnot. But that's for another time. In the meantime, with Zoro splashing into the water, now Luffy steps in, and Johnny and Yusaku go to rescue him, and Luffy goes straight for Mihawk, grabbing the railing on the other side. You know that's a damn you, not a darn you.
Yeah. Oh, I do find it funny. I guess just because of all that had been happening. Like this is where Sanji and all of the Baratier crew are just like, wait, he can what?
Yep. It's like, oh geez, he's a devil fruit user. And even Mihawk commends Luffy on withholding until the fight, his own battle, was at an end, and then just calmly steps aside so Luffy just buries himself in the ship.
Yeah. Of course, that's always, even when things are as serious as they are, you can always count on Luffy's just Looney Tunes antics to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get the reveal. It's like, don't worry, he's alive. He's alive. He's okay. They get him aboard Johnny Yosaku's ship. Yeah, you get to see his actual first name, Dracul Mihawk, which
he
that
looks like
fits.
Dracula.
Yeah,
he looks like a vampire.
I dig it. I dig a vampire swordsman. But yeah, he's like, it's too soon for you to die. Discover yourself, see the world, and grow strong. And however long it'll take, I will await you on the top. Strive to surpass me. Good speech. What a recognition of his abilities. Yeah.
He's basically, that is an acknowledgement from the strongest swordsman in the world.
Oh, yeah. And that has to mean something. It's like you see that potential of what it could be. And I think that's why it hits, because you see how much it means to Zoro, even despite the Kuina's backstory being not the best, being a little weak in the grand scheme.
I had also thought about, while reading the chapters for this week, I had remembered what we had discussed with the flashback with Kuina and stuff, which is still something I don't particularly care for it, but what it meant to establish for Zoro in this moment, I think is excellent. Yeah. It was something we needed. Even
it might be better. The placement in the anime for when that flashback takes place might be better, because it happens before they reach the Barati. And it gets its own episode, so it gets fleshed out a little bit more.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
I think this is a case where the anime probably handled it better as far as where it's placed and how you expanded upon it to make it hit that much harder.
Yeah, I might have to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, it's still sudden. It's still absolutely sudden.
Yeah.
There's no excuse, but there's only so much they can really do. But even I like that even Zeph is like, why would Hawkeye say something like that? It's like, it's just kind of questioning it. And Mihawk is even saying like, oh man, you trying to be king of the pirates is even more perilous than trying to surpass me. Luffy's just defiant.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like even with that one line, it still holds true even today in establishing just like how big the world is, and even though Mihawk is in fact the greatest swordsman in the world, even he acknowledges like, oh, King of the Pirates, like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And I think this is a good bar to set. This establishes something that we'll see in every sword fight that from now on that Zoro gets into, every battle he faces, that person is still weaker than Mihawk.
Yeah.
That is that is, again, setting the power level. It's not like you beat Mihawk and all of a sudden there's an even stronger swordsman. No, like, this is the top. This is what he has to beat.
Yeah. I'm not much for like power scaling when it comes to how I enjoy my shonen, but I do appreciate. I'm sure it's not like that when you get into the nitty gritty, but One Piece for the most part is sort of like, no, this is what we are going to establish, and like we're not just going to be like, oh, but what about the guy above him? What about the guy above him? Like, it's a very natural progression, and it doesn't feel like even today it hasn't really broken that. You know, like we're still dealing with a lot of like the factions and the levels within those like separate factions that are like slowly being established right now.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And even better, really, is that they're saying how he's like alive but unconscious, and then all of a sudden the hand goes up with the sword. Zoro calls out to Luffy, and you can see this bond between them. It's like, were you worried if I fail to become the greatest swordsman, you'll be disappointed, right? And then declaring, never again. I will never lose again.
And he's just crying and coughing up blood.
Yeah.
And this is hard. It's one of the most iconic Zoro moments in the entire series. Like, just straight up.
And that's something to be fun to keep track of. Will Zoro lose again? I don't know. That's one thing I don't remember, genuinely. So it'd be fun to keep track of that.
Yeah.
And Luffy just laughs, and it's like, all right, like he still has full confidence in him. Mihawk even seems satisfied. It's like, oh, cool, this stupid pirate. And because here's the thing, stupid pirate indeed. Krieg decides to taunt him.
Yeah. See, I'm like, Krieg did not learn his lesson.
No,
like, you coming in to talk smack after he just clowned on you to come all the way to chase you back from the Grand Line because he was bored.
Yeah. Took out his entire armada, found somebody he's actually interested in and likes to, it's like, all right, this wasn't too much of a waste of a time. I'm going to go take a nap.
I do love this line from his crew. He's like, if the man wants to go, for the love of God, let him go.
Exactly. And I think it kind of goes into his head because you've had your fun, but I've only been on the receiving end. And I think that's the thing that Krieg has convinced himself of, is that if I had the chance to attack him, it wouldn't have been ended up in this. He surprised me. He ambushed me and we weren't ready. But if I had the upper hand, if I was the one on the attack, I could take him.
And we see that.
Yeah. All it does is Mihawk is just done. He just like sends up a big wave of water, sends the crew kind of flying, and vanishes, essentially.
That's mercy.
Yep.
He had mercy.
Yeah. Krieg is so freaking lucky here. He really is. And I love, again, the bond between Usopp and Luffy, where it's like, set sail, go after Nami. And Usopp's like, right, I'll go after her. You get the cook to join us. Like, even Usopp's behind, like, recruiting Sanji at this point.
we all know what's going to happen.
And Usopp, despite his fear, being like earlier on, like, should we really go to the Grand Line? He's like, when we got everybody together, we'll sail for the Grand Line.
I love that Usopp is the one to say this.
Yeah.
He's throwing his hat back to Luffy's hat back to him. I'm a big sucker for those, like, go, we'll leave this to you. We have to,
Yeah. Then we end the chapter with how Luffy's going to get out of his year-long chore boy duty. If I chase these guys off, he gets out of it, and Zeph agrees.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
Sure, that works for me.
Yeah.
Again, great stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, chapter 53, Mackerel Head, which is just a great title.
A great title. And we got a great cover story here too, where our mysterious woman and Buggy are both, they got she's holding a paper that says search for, it's got a picture of Luffy on it, and they're just pointing at it.
Mm-hmm. Like, she's like, I'm after this guy, do you know him? And of course Buggy freaks out because that's all he does.
Yep.
I love how his body just bursts apart.
Yep.
This is ridiculous. Not too much else to say, but continuing the plot, as it were, of that whole little side story. And I guess with Mahawk gone, Kree's like, all right, well, back to business. Take the ship.
Yeah, I was like, that was a little side story.
Yeah, it really was.
A little diversion. Yeah, like, oh, that happened.
And I think that's another reason Krieg kind of comes across as not as interesting to me. And we'll see as we get further into this whole battle. But putting Mahawk next to him really does not do him any favors.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, when you've got one of, even to this day, I think one of the coolest characters in One Piece. You know, anybody will not compare favorably. But when you have as little going on upstairs as Krieg, you know, it just kind of, yeah.
True enough. I mean, his whole thing is still like, with this silly ship, it's better than posing as a Navy ship or waving the white flag. We can just say we can go around any ship without arousing suspicion and launch a surprise attack. Yeah. It's like
we'll cheat by pretending to be chefs. Yeah.
And he just shows the quality of pirates he goes after. The seas rotten with out-of-work pirates. So assembling another fleet should be no problem at all. Mm-hmm. And, of course, another pirate decides to raise dissent. And it's like, hey, we're still going to meet guys like Hawkeye, and gets shot in the face. Got a lot of these pirate captains killing their crewmen in the manga.
Yeah, he's just... you're going to run out of henchmen if you keep shooting them.
True. And then he actually says that Mahawk was only able to do it with because he had the power of a devil fruit, and that the Grand Line's crawling with people like that. It's like, man, I got shades of Mr. Satan at this. It's like it's just some dirty trick.
Yeah, it's all mirrors.
Yeah, that's the only way that could have happened.
Yeah, he had to have had a devil fruit, clearly.
Yeah, but again, he's already sort of reassemble events in his head where it's like, when he broke my ship, he probably used some devil fruit power. The Grand Line, even the Straw Hat Kid will just be another pirate. But Red Shoe Zeph, he sailed the Grand Line and he knows some secret for sailing among those freaks. So it's just, he's so convinced that Zeph has all the answers and that he can still pull this off.
Where he lost me when he says, like, with luck, his logbook will have the location of One Piece too. And I'm just like, that's a bit of a stretch, buddy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean,
he is.
Okay.
I'm being reminded of why I just, as when I watched the anime, I just was not a fan of Krieg.
Yeah, he's kind of dumb. He's not doing a lot of favors.
No, really not. But Luffy's excited because, like, wow, they're worked up. This should be fun. And
I love this imagery of just him hanging off of the side of Baratier, with all the chefs behind him.
Yeah, so Sanji's like tower of smoke. Ridiculous. I love how Zeph mentions is like, man, I couldn't hope for a better deal. If you stayed aboard my ship, it'd just be a wreck.
I haven't mentioned it much, but I love Zeph. He's surprisingly down to earth for such a over-the-top cartoon character.
That's a good way to put it, because he just has a comment for everything. He just sort of like, he seems kind of above it all, but also kind of in it all. It's a great combination.
Yeah, at the same time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I laughed at that comment. He's like, if you stay here, my ship is not going to survive.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
And we get to see some cool features of the Barati, because Sanji instructs another cook to open up the fins, and get some more banter between the two of them.
Oh, the banter's great.
Oh, it's so good between Sanji and Zeph. But I love how Luffy's just so gung-ho to get these guys taken care of that he just rockets over to Krieg's pirates and close hangs like 10 of them at once.
Yeah. It's like, okay, all right. We have now reached the Muso part of the story arc where we're just going to have Luffy take out like dozens of guys all at once.
Yeah. And I love the fearlessness of him, because he is among a wrecked ship.
Yeah.
If he will sink as like an anchor if it gets into the water, and he's just casually taking out people and clinging on to whatever he can amongst all this wreckage, and is just not even phased.
Yeah, and Krieg even points that out, and he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Then we get Patty, and hey, we learned the name of the other guy, Carne.
Yeah.
Which, man, it took a long time for them to reveal that. Got some sort of weird thing going on where things are unfolded, things are clinking, things are moving in the ship.
It's basically a mech.
Yeah, kind of. And Luffy is incredibly impressed.
Yeah, he's getting hyped.
And then you see it, and it's the least impressive thing ever.
Yeah, I love that page turn, and it just boop. It's just the little fish head of the ship popping out. And then they're the two chefs are like they're screaming at each other like, "You row faster!"
No, it ends up just being a paddle boat.
It reminds me of one of those like Team Rocket gimmicks from the Pokemon anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they would just be yelling at each other in one of these little stupid machines.
But it has such a great payoff, too, because it seems so far away from the pirates, and then all of a sudden it's there when they say full steam ahead.
It's here. Yeah.
Showing they are strong, but then they fire on the pirates, and like, man, they are wrecking havoc.
It's the great, just like, oh, you think it's going to be something awesome, and then you get the reveal, oh, it looks really dumb. But then, no, it's actually really awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And then we see the fins. I love this underwater shot showing the wreckage, the fish, and seeing them come from below. So we get this platform for everybody to fight on.
Yeah, I mean, we've been spending pages on this of just like this is like all of like the setup of them getting the arena ready.
It's so cool. It's like, all right, get ready for a rumble. Here's how it all goes.
Yeah.
Luffy's impressed. I love his wow faces.
Yeah, yeah.
Even Krieg's impressed. Like, oh, I want it even more now. I want that toy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, everyone's like, hey, that's pretty sick. The restaurant basically can transform into a tournament arena.
Pretty much. That's what it seems like. And the pirates start boarding, got them facing off against the sea cooks while Patty and Carne aim the mackerel head. Again, I love that name. And just fire all over
just
Krieg.
Straight at Krieg. Yep.
Yeah. And I got to say, I did forget about this. I completely forgot that Krieg had some power behind him beyond just his armor and guns.
Yeah, like he's able to, like the mackerel head, like he just yeets it basically, and like it looks like it's like several times bigger than him.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, immense compared to him, and he just tosses it away like nothing. Which, man, it's a good thing they had that because he was not seeming that impressive.
Yeah, we had to get that show of strength, but the next one is even cooler.
Oh yeah. Oh, even before that, I loved how Luffy every time he's like, Krieg is like, I'm going to be the ruler of the world seas, or I'm going to be king of the pirates. Luffy's like, no, you're not. That's me.
Yeah. He's like, he can't let it go.
No.
anytime that passes through his ears, he has to correct it. It's like, no, I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's me.
But yeah, Sanji almost. Would you call this showing, like, is lifting it more impressive than kicking it away while it's already flying? I'm guessing so.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sanji just
and Sanji
kicking it away.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, he just has just that mid-air shot and just...
And we're finally getting an idea of what Sanji's capable of. We've seen him beat up on people, but not really his full fighting strength. And we got the tease of what it's actually going to be like, which is pretty great. Not too much to comment on as far as the after the end of the chapter, where it's just like, hey, cut out these buggy faces and
I got a little extra. That's funny.
It's really funny and horrifying, but it's still kind of
horrifying, but also quite within character.
That is very true. Also, I hate that he gave him emoji face. Emoji lips, yeah. Oh, goodness. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right to chapter 54 because we are in the thick of it. And it's so freaking good.
Oh boy. But then we've got the cover story here where we have a pirate alliance going on with the mysterious woman and Buggy.
It's good stuff. We got chapter 54, Pearl, and again, Buggy eating and
he's eating even though he doesn't have a body, and he's drinking, and
we asked this before, but I still don't know how it works. But this does confirm that this woman is a pirate.
Yes.
So interesting stuff there. But yeah, they're both after Luffy now, so there you go. We get the aftermath where the kick basically deflected it from the ship itself, but still landed in the deck.
Yeah.
And all it does is piss off Patty and Carney. It's like, you trying to kill us? Yeah.
Yeah, I love Sanji so nonchalantly, yeah.
Again, the banter between Sanji and the rest of the cooks are so fun.
You really get a sense of their relationship. Just through the ways that they're just constantly just like talking trash to each other.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we're really into the thick of things now, where we've got like the pirates and the cooks having the showdown here on the ship.
Yeah, and not going so well for the cooks. Turns out Krieg actually has some tough pirates take down the cooks, and I mean these guys are essentially the strongest of the East Blue, so I guess it makes sense that they'd be tough. It wasn't just a pure numbers game. He did have some quality in there.
There's something behind all that talk. Not a whole lot. But
at least for East Blue standards, as far as we can tell. Also, I love the random words that Krieg's pirates have on their shirts. I haven't mentioned up to this point, but throughout it, I've seen shirts with war, baby, now Billywood. I'm like,
Billywood.
What the heck is going on here?
There was one I noticed. I think it's in the next chapter, but it did make me laugh. I'll point it out if I see it.
But yeah, now that Patty and Carney are back and all the other cooks are taken out, these two seem to be the strongest. And I love Patty going into like why they're protecting it so much. It was like, we've been cooks for more than 10 years. We worked in 300 restaurants, but we always got fired for fighting.
You got fired 300 times.
That's impressive. He must be a hell of a cook still. And all that.
He didn't put it on his resume, okay?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Zeph didn't ask about that gap in his employment history.
Didn't worry about those references or anything like that. But that's why it's so important. It's like we can fight to our heart's content where we get to be chefs. It's our life's dream. It's our treasure. And
it's a place where they get to belong. And that if that ain't One Piece, then what is?
Yeah. Again, we get an establishment of power here where the cooks aren't as strong as the pirates, but Patty and Carney are stronger than those pirates. You get to see sort of the hierarchy here. It's sort of why they've been highlighted. They are the toughest ones.
Yeah.
And then we get the most random reveal ever. Just out of nowhere.
This guy's a real gimmick character.
we just see this weird shield thing splash through the water almost like a turtle. Come up on deck and smack away the two with no effort.
Yeah.
It's so weird because the guy ostensibly has a kind of handsome face.
Yeah, he just dresses up like a dork.
He has all these shields, and you see the rest of his body.
Yeah,
and we would talk about the Meow Band brothers and Siam, which I finally remembered his name, but how weird he looked. This guy might be up there. Short, stubby legs, and the widest possible body you can imagine.
He's thick. This is the Invincible Pearl, apparently Krieg's second unit commander.
It's just
so somehow he rose up through the ranks.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, he definitely seems tough. His punch is called the Pearl Surprise. and then we get this wonderful moment between Patty and Sanji because a pirate.
I really like this one.
Yeah, it again puts Sanji where it puts you in Sanji's mindset where he sees this pirate trying to take Patty's knife. And Patty grabs the blade, cuts his own hand trying to hold on to it. That's enough to upset Sanji, just kicks him away into other pirates.
Yeah. All of these panels with, like, there's so much energy behind Sanji, like, kicking the crap out of somebody. Mm-hmm. I love the way Oda draws it, where it's like, because Sanji's wearing, like, a two-piece suit, it's like his whole body is just like a mass of black ink. And there's not a lot of internal detail, so you just get these massive shapes that really they're able to sell
these
impact.
Hard lines that really do it. And then the power, you get the speed of this guy being sent off, the knife flipping up, him crashing into other pirates, which is still strong enough to gather up those pirates until they all hit Pearl.
Yeah. It's such a cool sequence.
Oh, yeah. Again, showing off what Sanji's capable of. And Sanji just saying, a chef's knife is his soul. Don't touch it.
Yep.
And he protects it for first Patty, but hold it tightly while you die. I'll take care of him. He still has this air of not caring about him, but obviously he does care. It's just forked tongue.
He shows it in his own very abrasive way.
Yep. And then we get to see Sanji's whole thing where the pirates start to come after him and he just gets up on his hands, starts whipping his feet around, takes them all out in one go.
It's so cool.
and is most upset about them calling him lousy cooks.
And I love the close-ups at the top of the page where it's just like one panel for each of the goons, and they all have Sanji's foot in their face. You just see them get kicked. It feels like in slow motion almost.
It's the emphasis. It's like slowing down time just to see it. Again, you're talking about those black lines with Sanji where you can just, the perspective of his foot straight out.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's so good. And oh man, I love it. Then we get an explanation for Sanji's kind of gimmick. A cook's hands are his life, so he can't risk damaging them in battle. So he only fights with his feet, which ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but I feel like the cool thing about Sanji, or maybe the coolest parts about him, are the ways in which being a cook contributes to his character and his fighting style. So I mean, of course, it's not only that he's a cook, but that he's a cook that fights with his legs and also gets really pissed off if you waste food. Like I feel like it's sort of like the sum of all of these different parts of his character that are about both fighting and feeding people that all seem to work together.
Yeah, every inch of him is all about being a cook, what it means to be a cook, his sort of philosophy. And I like how the further we go, the more we get these layers peeled back, where it's not just, bam, here's his story. It's it's a slow rollout of us kind of learning about Sanji. And I'll admit, when he first showed up in the anime, he was one of my favorites. I just loved his gimmick.
Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah. And it sort of has a similar energy to seeing Captain Kuro for the first time, and you see him do like the silly thing with his glasses with the palm of his hand, and then you find out later that he does that because he has like Wolverine claws. It sort of feels like that with Sanji. It is how Oda establishes a character through their actions and their, I guess, like their personality and how they view the world. And then you sort of, after a little while, you peel back the curtain and you see, okay, this is why this character is like acting this way.
Yeah.
But you see them through just like, you get these little hints here and there that I really like.
It's extremely well done. And yeah, we get our setup for the next fight. Pearl versus Sanji, it looks like. And
and he's gassing himself up. He's the invincible Iron Wall. He's never shed blood in a single battle.
61 battles to the death. Stuff. He's won them all without ever losing blood. He is just that tough. And it's just no cuts. He is the shield man. And I'm handsome too.
Oh, man. I love the little sparkle.
Luffy's even kind of thrown off by this. But of course, Krieg never wanted to pass up an opportunity. He uses a ball and chain to smash the pole that Luffy's on. And then smash Luffy himself with it. It's like, okay, we got a dual battle going on at this point. So we're getting ready for the fight between Pearl and Sanji. He blocks his kick with that Pearl shield, and it seems to be setting up for that. And then Luffy crashes into the back of his head, causing it to smash into his own shield. And Luffy's just like,
it's a team up attack technically.
Yeah. I also love the like nonplussed way of Luffy's like, whew, that scared me, just brushing himself off. But it's enough that to give Pearl a bloody nose, and everybody starts freaking out.
Oh boy.
And
even Krieg is just like, this is bad.
Yeah, it's like, oh no. That's the end of the chapter. We'll have to learn more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then we got our next SBS. And, there's not really too much to say other than him covering for himself when there's a continuity error. Because the mountain bandits enter the tavern and break a door. But why is it fixed when they live? And he just invents a new character to like, he has to fix things right away. It's not an error on my part.
This is the thing that comes up in 900 chapters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's a blink and you miss it. Like, oh, okay. That's it. It's nothing hugely plot important or anything like that. But it's such a Giga Brain callback.
Oda is kind of the opposite of Toriyama, where Toriyama can barely remember things and Oda remembers everything.
Everything. I at least think he's good at hand waving stuff, and we'll go back and reread.
Yeah.
there's definitely huge things that have been planned since the beginning, but there's little things like the other side of the brick joke with Mr. Minatomo sort of coming in. I would have to imagine he just was sort of flipping through volumes one day. It was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I have a good place to put that joke.
Yeah, where can we do
or
this?
Not even a joke. It's just a little nod, if anything.
It's good stuff. Yeah, that brings us to chapter 55, Jungle Blood, and
this cover story just broke me.
It's so good. We finally see Buggy's crew after getting chased out of town. They recovered Buggy's other parts that are still tied up, which makes me wonder if they untied them, if they would just naturally go back to Buggy over the miles.
Yeah, what is the range on his devil fruit? But yeah, they're throwing like a little funeral for him. They got a little picture of him hung up.
It's so wonderful,
and they're all crying. Oh my god, it's so funny.
It's so silly, and what a great way to end for I guess that's our cliffhanger for the chapter titles, because this being our last chapter. But going into the chapter itself, time to learn why Pearl does not like getting a bloody nose. It's like like everybody's begging with him. It's like, calm down. It's like, oh no, and like, Pearl's like, my shield has failed. This guy's dangerous, and suppose Sanji and Luffy are just not caring. It's like Luffy's even just picking his nose as it's going on.
Yeah. It's like, it's just a little blood.
Don't worry. And then Pearl sets himself on fire.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
He just sets himself on fire. As one does when you start bleeding.
That's natural. Apparently that's a thing he does when he was in the jungle. How did he not burn the jungle down?
Yeah. This is, I think... this is one of the most gimmicky side bad guys. Like, I think even more so than the Meowban brothers. Or it feels like this is such a specific thing to get such a specific thing to happen. And it's not that I dislike it, but it's just more of a like, this is really dumb.
It really is. Like, he's out of nowhere. He's just, I think he works because his design is so strange in a compelling way, unlike the Meowban brothers, who are just sort of
yeah, they're just kind of disgusting to look at. I would almost prefer less explanation if he was just like, oh, one of our crewmates just set himself on fire. But somehow that would somehow make more sense than trying to be like, oh, he did it as a protective mechanism when he was a kid, and he just if you're a pirate, why did they let this guy into their... I'm thinking about this way too much, I know.
Exactly. It's one of those things when you start thinking about it, it's like, you let a guy who's, again, really good at defending himself, but if he does get hurt, he just sets everything on fire, which seems like a problem on an ocean, something that sails on the ocean.
I can only imagine the application process for the Don Creek Pirates is like, hey, we got this great guy. He walks around with a big shield. He's a great guy. He'll be a great fit for our crew, but you just have to worry about if he bleeds even a little bit, he will spontaneously self-combust. And you're like, you're hired.
Yeah, it's perfect. And to be fair, it does work in the sense that I could get him on another ship, as we do here, although Creek kind of wants to take this ship.
Yeah.
But there's utilization for this. Yeah, and it does up the stakes. Like, all right, you got a shield. Now that shield is on fire. That's a problem. And Luffy's already on fire. He's running around with his pants flaming. All the Creek pirates start jumping in the ocean trying to get away from the fire. Sanji is just like not caring about the flames at all, says, this isn't yours to burn, and goes for one of his big kicks.
Yeah, he jumps over the fire.
Yeah.
To dive kick. It's so cool.
And he's like, Pearl's just like, what? Not even wild animals would jump in that fire. Sanji's just like, you can't be a cook if you're afraid of fire. Like,
oh man!
Again,
that's a
aspect
good line
of being a cook.
just him holding out the cigarette with the fire in the background. Oh man!
Mm-hmm. You could just sort of imagine a cool guy thing, just taking the cigarette, relighting it on the fire, taking another drag.
But instead of that, he does like a flip kick, and he just kicks him right in the face.
Yeah,
a cartwheel. That's what I'm thinking of.
There you go. Dodge under the flaming pearl surprise and just kick him straight in the face.
If that's one thing I have to give to like the choreography in Sanji's fights, there's so many acrobatics going on. It's just it's the best.
And of course, all this does is set off Pearl even more. So somehow he's able to send out multiple flaming pearls from his body.
I don't even know what's going on here.
I don't know. It's fascinating in its strangeness and weirdness.
He's committed to the gimmick. I'll give him that.
Oh yeah, he is. But it does give us a cool moment with Zeph. We got these flaming pearls coming towards him, and without even really being able to see him, with his peg leg, apparently his bad leg, puts out all the fires, and the pearls just uselessly hit the restaurant.
When I first read this, I interpreted this as him kicking them away, but apparently it was the wind from his kick. And I'm just kind of like, holy crap.
Yeah,
Zeph he's been sitting on the sidelines this whole time, and he's just like, eh.
You get the sense that he probably can take care of this himself, but
yeah, it's like,
why should he?
Peg leg.
Yeah, that's then when Krieg comes in, and it's like he decides to take out Pearl himself. It looks like, I'll sink you, fins and all. And it's like, I mean, before you can set fire to it, I'm sinking you too.
Yeah. He's just got his giant mace coming in.
Yep. And that's when Luffy braves the fire and uses Gum Gum Bazooka to launch the ball and chain away and almost hit Krieg. And I hate how often they're making Krieg look cool, because he's just like has a reaction shot.
Yeah.
But as far as his pose, he just keeps his arms crossed and looking cool.
Yeah, if he didn't have that reaction where he's just like, he's very, very visibly, freaked out, but like his body language is a lot cooler than his face.
Yeah, which Krieg's face is kind of his worst part.
I have to give credit to it feels like the choreography in general for this fight is a lot more complex than what we've seen before.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
Like between the two ships and just like the way that Oda is using like the pillars, as we see like the mace like bounces back onto crashes into a pillar, and the pillar comes down and bonks Pearl on the head. It feels like there's like an action and reaction for every single thing, and it's just like it's a lot more complicated than what we've seen up to this point.
Even just speaking of the choreography, look at how Luffy and Sanji dodge.
Yeah,
like Luffy's dodge is amazing. Like the way he's like on the backs of his fingers, feet above his head, getting away from that thing.
Yeah,
and it's just it's such a ridiculous way to take out a ridiculous character where he's just bashed on the top of his head by a mast, knocking him out. And I just love the closing lines. Like, what a freak. Stupid too.
Oda knows that this guy was super gimmicky.
That's he's just like, I need a fight for Sanji, so we'll just basically do this. And then we get, honestly, I completely forgot about this. This caught me off guard.
I forgot about this part too. Yeah,
where Gin shows back up, and he has Zeph on the ground with a shotgun basically pointed at him, and I missed it at first, but he ripped off his peg leg. That's how he got him.
Oh,
he snuck up behind him and ripped off his peg leg.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, you're right.
All it is like, I don't want to kill you, and that just end there.
Yeah.
It's like,
what a place to end this week's chapters.
I know, it's agonizing.
Man. This arc is bonkers.
It really is. Like you'd think it'd just get right to the fight with Krieg, but people just keep showing up, and
it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. I loved this week's batch of chapters.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, that the Zoro Mihawk fight, I hadn't revisited in a while. It's still excellent. It just is still now one of my favorite Zoro moments in the entirety of One Piece. And you just have the escalation of everything else after that.
It's so well done. And the SBS gives us Sanji's age. He's 19 years old, just like Zoro. And I also love how one of the questions is just like, I love Nami and I'm not going to give her up to the likes of Sanji. Therefore, I challenge him to a duel. Or just like, okay, fight. It's like he just knows that Sanji will destroy him.
Oda so often leans into the bit with his reader questions, and it just makes for such a fun interplay.
Mm-hmm. And already at this point, he has 4 assistants that help with backgrounds and whatnot. And I like this little behind the scenes. They come to help for 2 nights and 3 days each week, sleeping over. And without these people, it would be impossible to complete a script in a week.
Yeah. So that sounds about right based on my knowledge.
Yeah, that does seem about it. So Man, what a great set of chapters. That's
One Piece
really
is really, again, we're in year 2. Oda's like, kid gloves are off, and we're just feeling that. It feels like every single aspect of the series is just starting to ramp up.
Yeah,
and it just it's so exciting. I'm loving it.
Oh, I'm there for it, and I can't wait to see more. Like, Krieg still sucks, but everything surrounding it is still so good that kind of makes up for that weakness of a villain.
Absolutely.
Yep. So we'll see what happens next time. But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 51 to 55 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening. You can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube or BitNerd with an _ at the end on Twitter. Brandon, where can they find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime and manga and games and my job. I guess if I have to plug anything, you might have to scroll down a bit on my timeline, or maybe you can you can probably search it on Twitter or whatever. But I was just on a podcast called Manga Mavericks, which, you know, they are a manga podcast, obviously, and they got me and a few of my letterer friends together to kind of talk about the industry, and it seems to be fairly well received so far. Everybody seems to really like it and to find it informative. So I find it a pleasure to talk about my work and sort of illuminate the things that people might not think about. So yeah, give it a listen if you can track it down.
And that's Manga Mavericks?
Yeah, Manga Mavericks.
Do you happen to know what episode it is? Just so people can find it more
I don't
easily?
think they use numbers.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll be one of their more recent episodes by the time this comes out.
Yeah, definitely give that a look. Listen to Brandon in more things. He knows his stuff.
I'm around. You can't.
He's around. Definitely. But if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER. Love having a differently spelled name that everybody can misspell. to listen to the next episode 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 56 to 60 of One Piece. Until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
I solemnly swear, from this moment forward, that I will never lose again. Until the day comes when I defeat him and take his title. I will never be defeated. Is that okay? King of the Pirates!